What is tax? Mona work at banana farm. Mona is paid leaves for work every single week. At the end of the week, Mona earns 100 leaves. Mona is happy. It ain't much, but it's honest work. Actually, Mona only receives 80 of those leaves. Government takes 20 leaves. This is tax. Basically, it's leaves Mona has to pay to monkey government. No way around it. Every monkey pays tax in some form, even if they don't particularly want to pay it. What do you mean you get some of my money? This isn't fair. Ramen didn't die for this. Why do we pay taxes? Monkey government needs leaves to run the jungle. Keep it running smoothly. They use the leaves collected from tax too. Fund goods and services for every single monkey. Things like housing, hospitals, schools, police, firefighters, military, art galleries, and space programs. Scientific research too. Public television, libraries, garbage collection, public transport, and even retirement, all funded by tax leaves. Monkey government can collect taxes in many different ways because there are many different types of taxes. Income tax. Monkey government takes leaves straight from Mona's paycheck before she even sees them. Sales tax. Extra leaf charged when Mona buys a banana every single time she buys one. Property tax. If Mona buys treehouse, Mona must pay monkey government for owning that treehouse. Capital gains tax. If Mona sells treehouse for more leaves than she paid, she must pay tax. Corporate tax. Big monkey businesses also give a percentage of leaves they earn each year. Inheritance tax. Mona pays tax on leaves Mona inherits. Yay, more tax to look forward to. Environmental tax. Monkey corporations pay higher tax on items that hurt monkeys. Environment. Discouraging harmful practices. Luxury tax. A tax on expensive items for monkeys that can afford more than they truly need. Tariffs. A tax on imported goods from other monkey countries. Added at the border every time. Tax brackets. So how much tax should Mona pay? Well, it depends on how much Mona earns. The more Mona earns, the more tax Mona has to pay. Most of the time, generally. These are called tax brackets, and they look something like this. A tiered system of rates. But monkeys make a very common mistake when looking at tax brackets, misunderstanding how they actually work. If Mona makes 100,000 leaves, they are taxed 22%, or 22,000 leaves, right? Wrong, actually. The first 10,000 leaves Mona earns. Mona pays 0 tax on that portion, completely tax-free. The next 40,000 leaves Mona earns. Mona pays 12% tax, or 4,800 leaves total there. The last 50,000 leaves Mona earns. Mona pays 22% tax, or 11,000 leaves on that part. So Mona's total tax would be 15,800 leaves, not 22,000 leaves. A big difference indeed. Mona only pays 22% tax on that higher bracket, not on Mona's entire income overall. How is tax collected? If Mona is an employee, monkey government automatically deducts leaves from her paycheck. But if Mona owns a business or is a freelancer, Mona must tell government how much she earned. Monkeys must prepare and file all this information into a tax return every single year. But how do you do a tax return? It depends on what country Mona lives and works in, but the basic process is the same everywhere. First, Mona will need to count how many leaves she made. Mona's job should do this for her and send Mona the total amount earned that year. Second, Mona needs to find out how much tax she has already paid for that year. Mona's job will also keep track of this information, making the process a little bit easier. Then finally, the most important step, deductions. These are any work-related expenses Mona had to buy. No. They have to be work-related. You can't claim that. Give me it. Deductions can be uniforms, tools, training courses, travel and accommodation for business trips, or charity donations. Then Mona needs to send all this information to Monkey government for review and final calculation. They'll look at how many leaves Mona makes, how much tax Mona owes, and deduct expenses made. After all these calculations, they'll give Mona the result of her tax filing for that year. If Mona has underpaid tax, Mona will need to pay the rest of what she owes. But if Mona has overpaid tax, Monkey government will give her a nice tax refund instead. Tax audit. If Mona makes any suspicious deductions or has extra income she didn't report, she may get audited. A tax audit is monkey government double-checking Mona's information, usually only when something isn't adding up. Okay, everything looks good here. Nothing out of the ordinary. Wait a second. What is that? What? Why is it written so small? I can barely read that at all, honestly. But doing your taxes isn't easy. And sometimes Mona just makes a mistake, an honest one. Here I think it's right. I forgot to carry the warranty. Please don't send me to prison. Complete insanity. What happens if you don't pay taxes? Nothing at all. At first anyway. First it's a warning. Then they'll charge interest, which means Mona now owes even more money. Then monkey government will try to forcibly take Mona's leaves, garnishing whatever they can find. And finally, if Mona still won't pay, monkey government will take Mona straight to prison. In the USA, the tax office is called the IRS, or Internal Revenue Silverback Gorilla. Apparently, in Australia, it's the ATO, the Australian Taxation Orangutan. And in the UK, it's the HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenue Capuchin, who doesn't pay taxes. But there are some monkeys that don't pay taxes, like unemployed monkeys, employed monkeys that don't earn enough, baby monkeys, monkey charities, monkey religious groups. However, almost every monkey pays some kind of tax at some point in their life. Eventually. How rich monkeys avoid high taxes. Rich monkeys can do this in many clever and legal ways. They can own stock, property, or collectibles. And when they sell it, it's taxed as capital gain, which is less than income tax. In fact, capital gains tax is only around half as much tax as Mona pays working a regular monkey job. A significant difference in rates. If Mona owns stock in a company, and that stock pays dividends, these are also taxed less. Rich monkeys also get tax breaks on investments. This is called negative gearing, a clever strategy. If rich Mona buys a treehouse, then rents treehouse to other monkeys for extra leaves. But treehouse costs more leaves than it makes. Mona is losing leaves on the whole deal. But that loss can be claimed as a deduction on Mona's taxes, reducing what she owes overall. Mona is hoping value of treehouse goes up in the future and one day sell 4 more leaves. But meanwhile, she pays less tax because of the loss. A smart long-term financial strategy indeed. Taxes in different countries. Monkey businesses can also set up companies in other countries with lower taxes. Not all monkey countries pay the same amount of tax. Rates vary wildly around the world. Some of the highest tax rates in the world are Finland 57%, Japan 55%, and Australia 45%. Hang on, I can do an Aussie accent. Oh yeah, now chuck another shrimp on the Barbie. Bloody hell, a dingo stole me, baby. While some of the lowest taxes in the world exist too. The Cayman Islands, 0%, Dubai, 0%, and Antarctica, 0%. But that's mainly because no monkeys live there. History of taxes since the beginning. In the Benin, taxes have been controversial, always a hot topic. In fact, in the US during the early 1900s, banana tax was a very real issue. Importers argued that bananas should be taxed as a necessity and not a luxury item. At all. I don't want banana. Oh, okay then. I need banana. You're going to jail right now. In some parts of history, bananas weren't taxed and were actually used to bribe officials instead, in exchange for special tax treatment. A strange but true part of monkey financial history overall. How to make tax less scary. This is not financial advice. Please do not sue Mona, ever. If Mona wants to make taxes easier and avoid accidentally going to prison, she should make a budget and track expenses that could be tax deductible, keeping careful records throughout the entire year, always. But if Mona just wants to eat bananas, Mona can hire a tax accountant to help her. These monkeys help with tax returns, and in some cases, their fees are tax deductible too, conveniently. There are only 2 guarantees in life, death and taxes. And bananas, of course, always bananas. Hopefully monkeys now understand tax a little better than before. Thanks to Mona's helpful explanation today. If you want to learn more about money, check out Mona's other videos on the channel. And remember, apes together strong. Always supporting each other through taxes and everything else in life.